So ladies and gentlemen, excuse my dark background today. I don't know, the sun hasn't come out yet. In my little corner of the world, my name is Sharon Whiteman, and I'm very privileged to be here with Diana Hunter and Gary Knapp every week, and each and every one of you. We're going to be blessed today. We have the amazing Robyn Kyna, and I'll just give you a little bit of their background. Now, Kyna is a registered nurse with over 2 decades of experience. It wasn't long into her nursing career that she realized something was missing, and through a caring friend was introduced to the science of nutritional glycobiology over 20 years ago. As a registered nurse and with a passion for wellness and healthy living, MANNATECH was the perfect fit. Since being introduced to MANNATECH, Kyna has been a passionate advocate for educating others to take personal responsibility for their health and wellness, and Kyna won the Giving Spirit Award for contributions to our community in 2018. Now, Robyn Sully has been a passionate educator for the benefits of wellness since being introduced to MANNATECH science and supplements over 20 years ago. Having been a nurse, she knew that to address the chronic health challenges needed more than a drug mentality. Following her own personal experience in recovering her well-being, she has consistently researched and is committed to sharing the blessings that MANNATECH supplements have to offer. She was awarded the Mike Forrest Giving Spirit Award in 2013 and the Ray Robbins Giving Spirit Award in 2014 as well. So Robyn and Kyna, they share a passion, and between them, they're jointly passionate about the M5M Giving Foundation and the work that we do in nourishing malnourished and at-risk children. So Robyn and Kyna, thank you very much for being here and always being willing to put your hand up and support all of us in improving our education.
You're very welcome, and thank you very much for having us on the call. I'll just quickly share my screen. Hopefully that will work. Sometimes I'm a little bit computer illiterate.
No, it's perfect. I can
Is
see it well. So
fine?
I'm going to go off camera, but I'll be here in case you need me.
Okay, no worries. Thanks very much, Sharon. A very good morning to you all on this cruel winter's day, and I guess it's a good day to talk about bones, joints, and inflammation. And I know we're looking specifically at a specific body issue or challenge that people might have, but these concepts can be applied broadly. So it doesn't matter, you don't necessarily have to have a bone joint problem to benefit from the information that we're going to share today. And I think that will hopefully be helpful for you all. So Mum and I are jointly going to do this presentation. I'll do the first part, and then unfortunately my scheduling at work got a bit messed up, so I'll have to dash off, but then Mum will continue and share about the benefits of the products and what they can do to assist in helping bones, joints, and inflammation. So if you're ready, let's get started. So maybe this morning you were crawling out of bed, or maybe you didn't want to crawl out of bed because it was quite chilly when I poked my leg out this morning and I quickly pulled it back in. Or maybe you're finding it harder to reach down and pick up things off the floor. You've got twinges or stiffness. Does that sound familiar to you? Well, you may not realise, but these symptoms and many others are actually a very big problem in Australia. And here are some staggering statistics for our own country. I know oftentimes when we get speakers, we hear statistics from overseas, but it's helpful to look at what's happening here. And sometimes we don't keep as good statistics as other countries. But anyway, this is quite shocking, and it's a rather expensive problem. So it surprised me, to be perfectly honest. I've transitioned into becoming a remedial therapist, massage therapist. And so I wasn't aware that this actually, arthritis, for example, affected so many people. And it's actually the major cause of disability and chronic pain in Australia, affecting a staggering 3.6 million people. And the costs to the economy were $14 billion in 2018. And that's the most recent statistics I could find according to the Arthritis Australia website. It's projected to increase to about 5.4 million Aussies by 2030, which is really not that far away. Time goes so quickly. And the other interesting factor was it's the second most common cause of early retirement due to ill health. So it really is a very big and costly problem. And if you think about that in terms of healthcare costs and lack of productivity, it's a very expensive problem. 4 million Australians are affected by back problems, and looking at having a total knee replacement, it's projected to increase by 276% from the current statistics to from osteoarthritis specifically by 2030, and a 208% increase in total hip replacements from osteoarthritis by 2030. So it really is a very, very staggering statistics if you stop to think about it. Okay, well, let's see. Here we go. So the troubling thing is for people with arthritis and other musculoskeletal conditions, they also report fair or poor health compared to people without those conditions. So maybe you feel like that man in the middle sometimes, that getting older is, you know, you have to make creaking sounds whenever you bend down or get back up. Or maybe you can sympathize with some of the pictures there that are highlighted with the inflammation in different areas of your muscular system. Now, just on a side note, obesity is a big problem in Australia. Excuse the pun there. And obese people are 2.4 times more likely to suffer with osteoarthritis. That's obviously the increased pressure on your joints due to carrying extra weight is quite a big problem there. So the most important thing is to get out there and move it, baby, hey? So now that we've got some figures and things out of the way, we're going to have a quick little look at the body systems now. Just a quick little anatomy and physiology lesson. If you thought you were not having to use your brain this morning and just listen, please tune in your brain just for a moment. So what are bones? Maybe you've not stopped to think about that before. Bones are actually living tissues. You might think they're just dead, dried things. Probably seen an old bone that your dog's chewed up or something like that. It doesn't look very alive, but it actually contains nerves, blood vessels, and marrow. And it's actually your blood cell factory. So it's really important to maintain the health of your bones if you want healthy blood cells. And your bones change all the time. Your bone mass peaks at around 30 years of age. So from then on, it's a slow decline down, but there are heaps of great things that we can do to help support our bone health, which we're going to share with you today. And at 5 to 6 weeks of gestation, bones are actually visible. So that's very interesting. And it just can take a few minutes of your time each day to keep your bones strong and healthy. So what do those bones actually do? They support your frame, they keep you upright, they protect your internal organs. If you think about your ribs, for example, they protect your lungs and your heart. They give you structure and give you movement so you can go to pick up your cup of coffee that you need to keep you warm this morning. They also store minerals, things like calcium. You're probably very familiar with that. And the anchoring of muscles, so muscles attached to your bones as well. And bone health is determined by a few things. Some things you can control and some things you cannot control. The amount of calcium in your diet, for example. But don't forget, you also need vitamin D for the best absorption of calcium. Physical activity. So stressing your bones is actually good for them and keeps them strong, which is very important if you want to lead an active life into the older years. Tobacco and alcohol, they interfere with calcium absorption, so probably best steer clear of those things. Gender, size, and age, that's not always something we can control, but gender, more women than men are likely to get osteoporosis. White women and Asian women are also more likely to get osteoporosis. Your weight, being too fat or too thin, actually affects your bone health as well. And hormonal levels. Women do lose bone density, especially during menopause because of hormonal changes, but we've got some great news about things that we can help in that regard. And then eating disorders like Crohn's disease and celiac disease, that can actually affect the absorption of calcium So it's interesting to see how the different body systems work together. Certainly not one thing. One thing certainly affects everything else. Certain medications, for example, prednisone or cortisone or methotrexate, they also affect the health of your bones and can make them weaker. Now, bone making is a very intricate process, but we're going to keep it very simple for this morning. So you've got two types of cells, osteoclasts and osteoblasts, and they both work together. Osteoclasts degrade and reabsorb bone for remodeling, a little bit like recycling in a fashion. And osteoblasts, they lay down new bone cells to take the place of the old bone cells. Now, osteoclasts help to degrade bone surface so that osteoblasts can produce the new bones. So it's a very interesting process, and there's a lot more science behind it, but that's just to keep it simple for this morning, and you can think about that when you're going around doing your day-to-day activities and moving those bones. Now, what sort of things can you help to eat for healthy bones? Leafy greens, for example, contain lots of antioxidants called carotenoids, which are found to reduce the rate of cartilage degradation, which we're going to talk about. And leafy greens also have lots of magnesium and calcium. Salmon and sardines, bone broth, dairy foods, especially things like yogurt or kefir, which help decrease damage of the joints from inflammation by promoting a healthy gut, actually. Avocados and beans, like legumes and sesame seeds and things like that. Now, we've mentioned a little bit about cartilage, but we're going to talk a little bit more about that just now. So cartilage the formation is visible by about 5.5 weeks gestation. It grows very quickly in the developing baby, and it's a very resilient substance, bouncy or rubbery, if you will. So it's that cushioning between your spinal processes, for example, or between your knee surfaces. You've probably heard of people who have, they say bone on bone rubbing. That's because that cartilage surface has worn away. Now, there's 3 different types of cartilage in your body. Hyaline cartilage, which is very common in joints and prevents that bone on bone from rubbing, and it's a very rubbery and soft cartilage. The elastic cartilage, which is like what your ear is made from, so it allows for flexibility and makes structures elastic from elastin. And fibrocartilage, which is a very tough cartilage which helps resist compressive forces and physical shock. It's found like in between the discs in your back, in your hip, for example, your pubic symphysis, your pelvis, and within your knee. The other important thing to realize is that cartilage doesn't have any blood vessels within it, so healing can take a lot of time. But there are some foods that you can eat or consume to help keep your cartilage in a healthy state. A daily diet of raw, fresh veggies and less fruits. Dr. Nugent often talks about eating more vegetables and less fruits, and having fruits as that dessert part of our diet. And cartilage is made from collagen fibers, so things like vitamin C, protein, eggs, brown rice, and legumes are also very important to help maintain cartilage health. Now, if you've had a joint problem, I'm sure you know all about it. So a joint is a location wherever 2 or more bones make contact. So we have a lot of them throughout our body. Our fingers, for example, toes, knees, elbows, shoulders. And joints are structural, but they're also functional. So they allow you to move, so you can bend your arm to pick up your cup of coffee or your glass of AMBROTOSE. But they can become damaged by injury, accident, infection, and the aging process. So, for example, osteoarthritis affects the joints, and that can be as a result of an injury that you've sustained previously. But rheumatoid arthritis, on the other hand, is an autoimmune condition that also affects the joints as well. Now, what sort of foods can help with joint health? An important thing is to watch the balance between your omega-6s and omega-3s, because this balance affects the COX-2 enzyme, which contributes to joint pain and damage. And COX-2 enzymes are also involved in the inflammatory process. Another thing you can do, which is not necessarily food related, but it is food related, is losing 4.5 kilos can take 18 kilos of pressure from off your knees. So just think about it. Your knees are also attached to your ankles, which are attached to your feet. So imagine taking pressure off all those joints. It's not just the one joint that you'd be improving. So that's an incredible thing to think about when you're thinking, oh, my joints are a bit stiff, or maybe you just need to move it a little bit more or cut down on some of those treats that you've been consuming. So that's all I have time to share with you today. I hope that little insight into joints and cartilage has been helpful and beneficial, and will make a little bit more sense as Mum explains a little bit further about inflammation, and then about our fantastic range of supplements which you can take on a daily basis to help improve your joint health, joint and bone health. So thank you very much, everybody, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week.
Before Kyna goes, I'll just get my instructions, because you know I'm quite useless with this. That one. Okay, thanks, Kyna. Good morning, everybody. And I'm so glad to be able to be here, and I'm very grateful for Sharon, Gary and Diana for giving us this opportunity every Saturday to learn of our products, to learn more about our human body, and to learn more about how we can maintain our health and our wellness. Now, what we're presenting here is got nothing to do with diseases, even though we might mention arthritis or osteoarthritis, but we are not speaking specifically for disease. We are talking about wellness and how to maintain ourselves as we get into older age. And at 73 now, I've been on MANNATECH for over 20 years. So I've been so blessed from my 50s on to be able to take these products. So just to continue on now from where Kyna finished, we need to talk about inflammation, because most of our breakdown in our health will come from inflammation. And inflammation has two components. It can either be acute or it can be chronic. So we're just going to look at these two categories and just see what happens. Now, you might be surprised to know that inflammation is actually a process which is essential for us to maintain health and wellness. But it's a process that we need to control, and we have a big component that we can do. And as I go on, I trust you'll learn that. So as you can see on the slide, inflammation is the process by which your body's immune system responds to tissue injury, irritation, or infection by foreign substances. Now let's just look at acute inflammation. Take, for instance, you get a paper cut, right? You cut yourself. Immediately, your body releases immune cells which will go to that injured area, and it will start immediately a process of healing. And that's just how wonderful we've been made, that our body knows what to do, providing we give the body what it needs to be able to do that process. And as we go into the products, I'll be able to share that with you. But just look at the paper cut, for instance. There you've got the paper cut on your finger. The inflammatory process has started. This is an acute inflammation, and now it's starting to heal. Then we have a chronic inflammatory process. Now that's when your body's own immune system will become overactive, and it will begin to attack your healthy cells. And of course, this does a lot of damage and a lot of harm. It sets up an autoimmune disease process. Now, they're not always seen or felt, because your internal issues, like tissues rather, like your joint and your cartilage, your organs, your brain, and the systems, your cardiovascular systems, they can't talk to you. They have to talk to each other. So that's why we need to watch how we're dealing with inflammation. And also inflammation now, in my recent research, is believed to be playing a central role in many of the chronic diseases that plague our society. As we go and look at this funny little fellow here, this blue man, we'll see that fat plays an important role in inflammation. And it might surprise you that all of those issues coming out of that little fellow there all stem from inflammation. So don't just brush off inflammation as something that's not terribly important, it's vital. So excess stored fat in the abdominal area, that actually creates a cycle of inflammatory response. And it's now believed scientifically that it sets up another whole organ. So our waist measurements are directly related to the inflammatory response. And to my horror, I discovered that a woman's waist needs to be no more, hold your hats, girls, 80 centimetres. And actually, I went back and I looked at a lot of photos of about 70 years ago when I was a child just born. And if you look at the waists of women, they actually came in like a V. But go to the shopping centre, sit and watch what's walking past you today, and even look at yourself. And it's quite surprising. So then you'll understand why that little blue boy there has got all of these health challenges coming from the abdominally stored fat. It sets up chronic inflammation, and it's almost always accompanied by tissue damage. Now, there's signs of chronic inflammatory process, and I'll just tell you a few, there's a lot, but some of them are skin rash, psoriasis, abdominal pain, chest pain, fatigue, feeling tired. Lots of inflammatory processes start by just feeling fatigued, and people can't do what they did before, and then when it's really bad, they go off to the doctor and their diagnosis sometimes comes back with lupus. And I've seen recently a lot of increase in people with lupus. Fever, for instance, joint pain, mouth sores, HIV, etc. All of those issues all stem from the inflammatory process. Now, fat and inflammation is very important, and I'll just share a little bit that I learned from this research I did recently. And what it's showing is that certain types of fats that we consume are having a very detrimental effect upon the microflora, which is where that word inflammation is on that little blue boy there. And what they're coming up with is this, the thought that there is a translocation of the microbial products from the gut into the bloodstream. Now, if this research gets validated, then you can see why this process is something you and I need to control. Specifically, since 70 to 80% of our immune systems lie in our gut. So we need to be very careful of the types of fats that we are consuming. How do we overcome inflammation? Well, I've just mentioned about the immune system there with the GI tract. We need digestive support. Diet is the #1 issue facing the Western world. Exercise, we need to walk. Do you know one of the best exercises is just a 30-minute walk every day? If we did that, we would improve our general well-being. Weights, we can use little weights. You don't have to go to the gym and pump iron furiously. We just can do some weights. We can do some stress exercises. One of the ones I found very helpful recently is to just stand at a wall, put your hands out and press backwards and forwards. That's very helpful. And because I've had that shoulder injury, I have found it very beneficial. So a little bit of walking and a little bit of weights can do a lot to help us. And remember, Kyna said that if we just lost 4.5 kilos, 18 kilos of pressure are off our knees and legs and ankles. Okay, so let's look at some anti-inflammatory foods. Now this is, you can just take a little while to look through this here. Now we need pro and prebiotics because really, folks, our guts are everything. Everything starts and finishes in our gut. And I can remember it's over 20 years ago when I first started to research the human gut. And way back then, there was very few good, sound, solid scientific research papers that one could look at. But go now to the net and you will find it is exploding. And MANNATECH leads the way with this, and we get our GI Pro balance back. So we need pro and prebiotics. But don't despair, because the products we have here already have lots of pro and prebiotic effects in our systems. We need foods that are rich in omega-3, but we need to be very careful where our omega-3 source is coming from. And that's because most of our salmon and fish today are farmed, and then the omega content becomes a 6 and not an omega-3. We need nuts and seeds, and we need the good oils, coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oils. We need red meats, grass-fed only. Remember that all the meats, if they're not fed with the grass and they're allowed to roam around like nature made them to do, then that content becomes omega-6. And we should be eating mostly 80% of our diet raw, with vegetables and fruit. Now, I don't know about you, but in wintertime, it's very difficult to eat a raw diet. You want something hot to heat your insides up. The other night I went to make a salad and Kyna said to me, "Oh, no, Mum, it's too cold." So, but I like it. So, but other people don't. But anyway, the diet, try and keep in mind 80% raw vegetables and fruit. We need to eliminate the traditional grains that are sold to us in the big supermarkets. We need to substitute with quinoa, some brown rice, spelt, coconut flour, and calmut flours. There's many different grains that we can get. So search around and try and substitute. I make all my cakes or biscuits or anything now, even Christmas cake and Christmas pudding, I make it with these alternate flours. It turns out beautifully. And we need plenty, plenty of greens. Greens are one of the best things to help us. They're filled with lots and lots of good nutrients. Continuing on, we need to watch the tomato, eggplant and white potatoes particularly, because they're from a category of foods called nightshade, and they can be a little bit inflammatory. Now, we should eliminate all sugary drinks. The amount of sugary drinks that are sold are unbelievable. Just walk around the streets and see how many empty cans of Coca-Cola and what are not in bins, but they're on the street. I saw 4 the other day, and I thought, oh, goodness, look at this. Now, we should use green tea only in the leaf form. Green tea is only beneficial if it's grown correctly, picked correctly, and in a leaf form. And we should be using every day ginger and turmeric in our daily diets. Try and be inventive, creative, and find ways to mix ginger and turmeric. If you have the MANNATECH shake every day like I do, you can cut up a little bit of ginger and pop it in your blender and blend it up. It doesn't change the flavour too much if you put some fruit in there with it, banana or pineapple. And my rule of thumb is if it's man-made, well, don't eat it. So that picture there with the cross through it shows you some of the man-made things. Now, which MANNATECH supplements are beneficial for us? There's a picture of some of them there. So let's go on. Now, of course, our foundation is cell-to-cell communication. And that comes in our AMBROTOSE product, and it also comes in our MANNATECH. MANNATECH is an amazing product. So cell-to-cell communication. What is cell-to-cell communication? Well, you know, very, very simply, communication means talking, getting your point across. And our cells inside have to get their point across too. Remember what I said about chronic inflammation? It's when the immune system is overactive and it starts to attack good cells. And then an inflammatory process is set up, no switch to turn it off, and then we start with a chronic health challenge. Immune system function. The immune system cells can only function if the glycans from the AMBROTOSE and the MANNATECH are sitting on the cell and able to facilitate their recognition and to fulfill the job that they were created to do. We need optimal digestive support. Remember, we talked about how important our guts are. That's our digestive support. And so many people are walking around with leaky gut syndrome and one thing after another with their digestive problems. All those antacid powders and things that are being sold over the counter. So let's look at our digestive systems and see how we can best support them. And AMBROTOSE has been shown to help memory recall and recognition in the memory of things. So we all need that, and particularly as we age, we need to have good recall. Improves our mood and it decreases irritability. Now, I don't know about you, but since COVID, I've noticed people are very, very irritable on the roads. They dart in front of you, they push behind you, they come up, and it's a bit scary sometimes out there on the roads. And I think that's exemplified by the huge amount of accidents that we've recently seen. So AMBROTOSE is very good to keep our mood and decrease our irritability. And it's for good health and just general well-being. So who doesn't need that? We all do. So remember, the foundation for all of this is cell-to-cell communication. Now, I've just highlighted a few products. Now, we don't hear much anymore about OSOLEAN, but you know, OSOLEAN is an amazing product. It's a whey protein product, but it's not whey like what you pick up at the supermarket or the health shop. This is a specially sculptured whey, and it's very interesting how it can support our bones and our joints. Just 2 scoops will give us 225 milligrams of calcium, 26 milligrams of magnesium, and 127 milligrams of phosphorus. Now, those things are very important. It's a high quality protein as well. It's a rich source of leucine, and that helps in building muscle mass. And on mannatechscience.org, you can go on and learn about that. It's very fascinating. Muscles are needed to support bones. So get into 2 scoops a day of OSOLEAN. Now, you know, I was absolutely blown away when I did a research on NUTRIVERUS. And it's one of our not so talked about supplements in MANNATECH. And as I went through what NUTRIVERUS contains and what it can do with those nutrients that it contains, it blew my mind away. And I thought, wow, just take, for instance, selenium that's in there. Now, our soils, as you know, are very depleted of selenium right across Australia. So if it's not in the soil, it won't be in the produce. So this is just an amazing way of getting good selenium in a balanced form into our bodies, because selenium taken too much of can become toxic. So we know that this is not a toxic product. And I think it's one of the most wonderful treasure houses that we can have. Let's call it our nutritional treasure chest. And you can just take it, sprinkle it on your food. You can mix it in your shake. There's lots of ways. Let's get inventive with NUTRIVERUS and let's start promoting it. It has a prebiotic effect. in our gut. And that happens because of the larch arabinogalactan. It's fermented there, and the colonic bacteria is increased. It increases the growth of all the lactobacillus species. So that it's so beneficial. And it's for the gut. And what did we just say? Everything starts in the gut. It also contains 60% of our daily needs of zinc, manganese, chromium, copper. As I mentioned, selenium and iodine. Iron is only 22% of our daily needs in it, but the others I mentioned are 60%. So let's get stuck into some NUTRIVERUS, add it into your program, and let's start promoting it. Some people can't afford AMBROTOSE and MANNATECH, but we could get NUTRIVERUS into all the families, and just imagine how we can help the health of the young ones coming up now. Now, Dr. Nugent has done an amazing talk on Catalyst Multi. Now, we're blessed with this product. He has spent so much time researching and helping us to provide us with the best and safest multivitamin mineral that there is. There are 29 vitamins and minerals in this product. Now, why do we need them? Well, catalyst, as it says, it's like a thing that makes something happen in your body. So catalyst is very important. It's readily absorbed. It supports healthy bones, joints, skin, hair, and our eyes. And it supports our endocrine system. That's your hormonal system. And it supports our immune system's health. Catalyst provides 100% of the daily requirements of vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C, calcium, and magnesium. So it's a powerhouse. Catalyst is an absolute powerhouse for us, and we need to, I think we need to promote this product too, because most people are buying some sort of a vitamin or mineral out there. Just stand around the supermarket and watch them. My heart bleeds when I see them standing there and they're picking up this one and picking up that one. And I'd love to have the liberty to say, hey, I've got the best one, try this one. So let's see how much we can support Catalyst. Catalyst is very, very important. Now you wonder why I put plus in. Well, plus is very important because of the work in the hormonal system. And you know that if you haven't got good hormones, you're not going to get good bones. It helps us with muscular cramps and spasms. It's a phytosterol product, and it's very important. For those of you who've listened to Amanda Keeney's hormone talk, you will just realise the importance of hormone support and phytosterols. It provides your body with the raw ingredients so that your body then can make its own hormones. And why I'm putting these other products in is because you don't make a hormone without selenium and your magnesium and your omega-3s. So we need all these to actually be able to make our hormones in the right proportion. As I mentioned before, the balance between omega-3 and omega-6 is a problem. So we need to watch that so that we can help these hormones produce themselves so that they can do the job they're meant to do. I don't know that I had anything else on plus that I wanted to share with you. I'll just check my note here. Here we go, omega-3 with vitamin D3. You know, I am so proud of MANNATECH for this product. When the pressure was on years and years and years ago for an omega-3 product, MANNATECH never caved in. MANNATECH searched the world to find the purest and the best oil, omega-3 oil they could. And our omega-3 is pharmaceutically graded, and it is an ultra pure fish oil. Comes from those tiny little anchovies fished in the Peruvian waters. And every single batch is tested. There's triple distillated and molecularly distilled. There is no heat applied so that the oil will never go rancid in your little capsule. And you know, omega-3 with vitamin D3 is vital because the D3 actually helps the fish oil do its job. It helps your body to absorb calcium. Now you can see why our products are made like this. We have a small suite of vital nutrient products. And you see, if you want your calcium to help your bones, then you're going to have your D3 in with your omega-3s. It helps your immune system. Remember, your brain needs a lot of omega-3s. It's a source of omega-3 fatty acids, and it's in the balance of EPA and DHA, which must be in a balance to be able to work properly. Most of our health conditions come from an imbalance in the systems. So we need it for good health, and it addresses the inflammatory response. Sport. I love sport. I just want to give you a little interlude into my own personal experience with sport, if I may, for a moment. I've been taking the products for quite some months following my motor vehicle accident, 8 years after it. And I said to James Jones, who introduced me to the products, I said, James, my pain is still as horrible as when I started. And I really want to just give up. I think I'm wasting money. And remember, this was 8 months down the track now from when I started taking MANNATECH supplements. He said, Robyn, you need some sport. I thought, oh, typical network marketing business. One product, another one, another one, another one, just spending money. And he said, no, Robyn, I'm going to send you these as a gift. And I want you to obey me. He said, Robyn, 6 of these straight down your mouth the moment you get out of bed in the morning. Before you do or take another thing. And as true as I sit on this couch talking to each of you today, my pain went in 2 days. My spinal fractures, everything just went. The pain in my shoulder, I was just blown away, and I've not stopped taking it ever since. So sport, now remember, it wasn't sport alone that did this. I was taking the whole suite of MANNATECH products and had done for 8 months. So your body starts to repair, and your body then will pick it up and start to use it. So I found sport to be an absolute blessing. It reduces the pain through the, it's a proprietary herbal mixture in that, and myrrh is in that, and that's a great pain reliever. It's been down through the centuries, used as a pain reliever. Talk to other people and you may find some similar testimonies to my own. Okay, we're bouncing back now with BounceBack. BounceBack is an amazing proteolytic enzyme product, and it's the only product in our range of products that I understand that we have to take away from food. And the reason for that is because it is a proteolytic enzyme and it will bind to a protein in foods. So most people don't discern what is protein and what is not in food. So the best rule of thumb to instruct people is take it 45 minutes before you eat or 2 hours after. And it's very important for joint and cartilage health. Turmeric is actually a nourishing antioxidant, and it will soothe joints and muscles. I've had great testimonies and support from BounceBack. BounceBack taken, you can take 2 a day. It takes a while for it to actually build up in the system. I think Dr. Nugent recommends 4 to 6 weeks for optimal benefit. But BounceBack is an amazing product. One of the things that I learned actually just early this morning was there's recent research showing great promise with curcumin from turmeric and bromelain from your pineapples. And these are now being shown to help the inflammatory process inside the body, and also being shown to help with the recent challenge that we have faced for the last 3 years. And I won't mention it by name, but you'll all know what I'm referring to. So BounceBack. Here's some summary of the benefits. This is a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial that was done on BounceBack. Some of our products, go on MANNATECHscience.org. I encourage you all, get out there and start researching what's in our products, and it will blow you away. So the summary of the benefits: reduced muscle soreness and tenderness, significantly increased activity for your expenditure of your energy so you can do more things, reduces pain and tenderness associated with DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, and it improves muscle recovery after exertion or physical activity. So access you down the bottom there, MANNATECHscience.org, read the research that was done on it, and really understand what this wonderful product can actually do, and start listening to people and what they might, what they might be struggling with. If you stop and listen, you might find the answer is all there. It helps with reducing bruising, swelling, and inflammation from minor injuries. So if you have a minor injury, like you fall over or something and you've hurt yourself, get in and swallow the BounceBack. I remember Amanda Keeney's partner, he tore some ligaments very seriously in the back of his leg, and he took 16 BounceBack, and he was back up on a roof doing his job within days, where the doctors told him at the hospital he'd be at least 6 weeks on his back. So injuries can be helped a lot if we know how to help them. And it helps in the recovery from overexertion or physical activity. And it can aid and assist or help in maintenance of good health and general well-being. It has antioxidant properties in it, and that comes from those products that are ingredients that I mentioned before. And it supports cartilage health. Now, Kyna mentioned how important cartilage was, bone on bone and all of that things, so we need to support the cartilage. Okay, now we need to just take a look at some points to take home with us in our minds this morning. On the right there, you'll see a plate, and above it, you'll see our supplements there. Now look at those as food, because that's what they are. We have food-graded supplements. So on the left there, we've got Eat Less Crap, C-R-A-P. C is carbonated drinks. We have to cease drinking carbonated drinks. They're one of the worst things to start eating your bones away. R, refined sugars. Now, refined sugars are all in processed foods, so we need to get away from refined sugars. A, artificial sweeteners and colours. Go to the supermarket, pick up all those packets and tins and start reading the ingredients. Some of them you can't even pronounce. Some of them you've never even heard of. So artificial sweeteners and colours are very important to not have them in our diets. And processed foods. Look at all the people lining up outside bakeries and fast food joints. They're everywhere. And the one we need to really think about is eat more food, F-O-O-D. Vegetables and fruits. Remember, it's more vegetable than fruit. Now, I find that hard because I could be a good fruit bat. I love fruit. Organic, lean protein. Remember, we talked about protein coming from some of our meats and fish, fatty acids and things, and we need to make sure that we're purchasing lean meats that are from animals that roam wild, eat the grass and not eating all that prepared food. Omega-3 fatty acids, just a tip here I found when I went to the big fish market. I asked him where the salmon came from, and it's all farmed. He told me that I will not buy from Australia any salmon that's not farmed. So I searched, and then I found in Aldi that there's a packet there with 7 little salmon pieces in, and they come from the pristine waters where they're fished from the oceans, Atlantic salmon. And drink water. Now, water is sustaining of life. But today our water supplies, when we go and turn on our taps, are filled with chemicals and toxins. And that's a big problem. So we need to have a very good water filtration system whereby we can try to eliminate some of these toxic substances, because it's all in the air, goes into the water supply, and then we're in trouble. Now, I think that's about all, Sharon, that I've got for this morning. I trust, folks, that it's been helpful to you. I know it's certainly been helpful for me to go back and to research some of our products again. And I only said to Kyna, we are so blessed. We have the best pharmacy on earth in MANNATECH. And that's because of the research, the development that's gone into our products, the fact that MANNATECH is a science-based company, and it's a research and a development company. How blessed are we to just have this knowledge? And every Saturday, folks, we have good calls like this one where we can learn, and that's very exciting. I noticed someone has put up that sometimes Coles has Alaskan salmon. Well, that's good too. Anyway, just check it out and find out where it's coming from, your source of your omega-3s, particularly in all the fish and chicken. Think of all the hormones they're pumping into the chicken. And we wonder why our children are developing at such an early age. When I was developing, menstruation was never even talked about at 9 years of age. But now it's quite common. So, yeah, very important. Okay, Sharon, I don't think there's anything more I want to say, but we love our MANNATECH family. We've been over 20 years, as Sharon said, in MANNATECH, and I wouldn't go one day without my supplements. And when my little Vincent comes, and some of you see him on my Facebook page, he's stuck into them, and he says, Robo, he calls me Robo, he says, Robo, big and strong, and he puts his little arms up, and he has his shake. He loves his shake. And then he has his AMBROTOSE, he has MANNATECH, he has superfoods, reds and greens, he has some NUTRIVERUS, he has Plus, he has omega-3s, he has ImmunoStart, and he's just buzzing along. And for those of you who know, this time 3 years ago, Vincent was on life support. Mm-hmm. So we are very blessed to have Vincent, very blessed to have MANNATECH, and thank you all for this opportunity this morning. And thank you, Sharon, Gary, and Diana, for all you do. We love you all. And most of all, we just pray that MANNATECH can continue to lead the world. And it's up to you and me to get that message out there. MANNATECH is there, but it's there. We are here. And everybody we need to just introduce them and help them to understand what we actually have. Thank you, everybody, and have a blessed weekend. Thanks,
Thank
Sharon.
you, Robyn. What an awesome hour to spend with you and Kyna. And there's lots of gratitude in the chat. I'll make sure I send it to you guys so Kyna can see that everybody was so grateful to have been blessed by this education today. So best thing to do is share this. It'll be up online over the weekend, and make sure that people that you love and care about have access to this education. So next week we have a business focus call with Naomi. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks, Robyn.
Thanks, Sharon. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Yep.